is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where the hell did I put? Ah, there it is. I gotta really start sorting these damn things out. Oh, probably gonna need this. Nope. Ah, here we go. Okay. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Fearox Frank Reviews. I decided to change up my review status just a little bit because I've been doing nothing but sequels. I mean, I look back at all the films I've done so far, and they have been nothing but sequel after sequel after sequel, and it just got kind of ridiculous. So I'm going to choose an original movie in a sense by America's favorite horror author, Stephen King. And no, I'm not going to do The Dark Half in a sense, though I really would have loved to talk about that movie, but yeah. I only have the book, so. Though, to be fair, when it comes to King's writing and King's movies, there's always going to be a bit of a difference. So, I have this DVD set of 4 Stephen King films. What do we have here? So, we have The Dead Zone, Pet Sematary, Silver Bullet, and The Graveyard Shift. The Dead Zone and The Pet Sematary are 2 distinguishedly great Stephen King movies. Silver Bullet, kind of in the middle of the road type Stephen King movie. Graveyard Shift, kind of like a B film, in a sense. So which one am I going to talk about? The Dead Zone's really quite memorable. Pet Sematary is really quite memorable. I think the choice is obvious. It's The Graveyard Shift. Okay, I bet you were thinking I was going to do Silver Bullet. The only the Stephen King werewolf film with Gary Busey. No. Yeah, that's a review for another day. No, I'm going to do The Graveyard Shift. Why? Oddly enough, nobody talks about this movie, so why not? I mean, what is the movie about exactly? Well, judging by the title, it's about people who work a graveyard shift. It's based on one of Stephen King's short stories under the same title name, and there have been tons of differences between the story and the movie. So let's go on. So let's just continue on here. The movie is basically about a drifter who works at a mill, in a sense, a cotton mill in the middle of Maine during one hot summer, in a sense, and the town's mostly filled with a bunch of rednecks. Okay, you know what? Normally I would say let's start the Stephen King drinking game and take a shot of how many Stephen King tropes we have here, but don't do it. Don't do it. Don't. Just not worth it. Definitely not worth the hangover. Anyway, the movie's about a drifter who goes working at the mill. Mainly because of the fact that there's actually a job opening, because the previous guy that he's going to be filling in for mysteriously died, and we actually get to see him get killed by a giant rat. Was it a giant rat? Well, there were a bunch of small, normal-sized rats around the guy, and something came up behind him and it roared at him, so maybe it was a giant rat. Right? Who knows? Well, either way, the movie goes a little bit back and forth with a little character development on the drifter and certain the workers in a sense. But the main villain in the film is a man named Warwick, he's got a heavy southern accent, Gets real hot down there, you see. That's why we run it during the night, during the cold weather. Because it's too hot during the daytime. That's why we have the graveyard shift. Because he has that type of accent going on. So, we would assume that maybe he's the main villain in a sense. Well, yeah, he is the main villain, and there's also a monster living in the mill. So, the plot of the movie is that they're going to try to actually clean out the mill's basement But the Drifter finds a few things, finds a couple of problems. There's a huge rat infestation, so they have an exterminator taking care of the rats. And here's a fun fact: the exterminator is played by Brad Dourif. That's right, the guy who voices Chucky is in this movie, but he dies like a bitch. Yeah, seriously, how's he die? Well, he sinks into the ground. A fucking coffin comes slamming right down to his face into a concrete wall. Concrete wall, his head, giant coffin, plop, goes out like a bitch. It's not even a creative way to die. It's pretty pathetic, man. Oh, well. I mean, you had such talent like Brad Dourif. You could have come up with a much more creative death scene, in a sense. But, you know, I could go on and on like how you could have used Brad Dourif in this entire movie, but I'm not going to, so fuck it. And, oh, that's odd. My TV is still on. I thought I turned it off. Yeah, let me take care of that problem. Yeah, piece of garbage. There. TV's off. So, what aside from the rat infestation, where are the rats coming from? How are they breeding so fast? It's not coming from the basement, in a sense. So, is it? Well, it turns out the basement, there's actually another level underneath the basement, a sub-basement, in a sense. Wow, that's interesting. And the sub-basement leads into the mines when there used to be an old coal factory. Very interesting. There's like there's actually a huge missed opportunity that actually could explain the town's history of the coal mine turning into from a coal mine turning into a mine mill, then later on turned into a cotton mill at some point. There's a lot of stuff they could have talked about in this movie, but it's a hour and a half long, early 90s, late 80s film that it feels like it's definitely 80s motif, but but it was made in the early 90s. So, yeah. A couple of good matte paintings here and there, but that's about it. Well, they go into the sub-basement, and that's where the monster is, and the monster starts killing them all off one by one. Warwick, the main villain, Warwick, he goes completely batshit crazy. And so he just goes, like, he goes into full, like, Vietnam veteran mode for some fucked up reason. Yeah, I mean, basically, it's like they're down in the coal mine, in a sense, like, he's covering himself with all coal dust to try to make him look like he's got camouflage with the dirt and stuff. And, like, seriously, he finds old bottles of, like, so he can make Molotov cocktails. He takes the dust off, puts on his face. I would say there's a blackface thing going on with that, but, to be fair, if he's militarily trained, then that really shouldn't count as blackface, because with the military, that's basically how they camouflage with their surroundings, in a sense. So it's not really considered blackface, it's camouflage. And, to be fair, he's a woohoo! 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 Yeah, he's gone to complete cuckoo mode. So everybody else gets killed off, and then we actually get to see what the hell the monster is. Is it a giant rat like I suspected? It's a giant rat-bat hybrid. What? Yeah, it's basically like a giant... It's basically like some type of hybrid between a giant bat and a giant rat. Like... Wait a minute. Are you trying to say was there like some type of like interspecies molding here or something? How the hell did that happen? I don't really know. I honestly don't even want to envision how the hell that was possible. But yeah, so War kills like somebody like a dear friend who's the lover of the main character, the Drifter. He basically he gets really mad. He goes after Warwick, and Warwick finds the monster, and well, Warwick goes completely crazy. He goes, "We're going to hell together!" He starts stabbing the monster. The monster just rips him to fucking pieces. Yeah, just rips his insides out and kills him instantly. While the Drifter sees is like, "Oh, it work? Hey. Oh, the monster got you. Oh, okay, I'm out. Bye-bye." So anyway, the Drifter just gets out of the mine in a sense. He goes into a couple of tunneling systems that leads him right back into the mill somehow, which that's where... It turns out that's how the monsters been getting in and out of the mill, killing pretty much every one of the employees at the mill at night. So, there, mystery solved. Like, Yeah, so we have a giant rat bat monster that's a human-sized creature that's been living in the fucking mines of this, living in abandoned mines that actually is connected to the cotton mill, which used to be also a coal mill and a water mill at one point. They really should have explained a lot in this. Seriously, with the whole mines, it's just crazy. Like, there's a lot that was left out of it, though. Not to mention, there's a graveyard right outside the fucking mill, too. And supposedly some of the... And it's kind of hinted at maybe the monsters actually be eating the corpses at the graveyard, too. So, yeah. There's a lot going on there. So they could have explained further, making the movie maybe even more horrifying. But, no, it's just... It comes off as a B film. Anyway, the monster chases the drifter all the way up to the mill, and well, the monster gets his tail caught on one of the machinery things, and well, what does the drifter do? Turns out the drifter is really good with a slingshot with empty Diet Pepsi cans shooting. Yeah. So what does he do? This is what he did in his off time before this whole thing happens. Like, I got an empty Pepsi can. I got a nice slingshot. There are rats around me, so what am I going to do? Okay. First off, wouldn't it make much more sense to crush the cans up into balls because they have more weight to them? I mean, them being empty, it kind of takes out the, it takes away some of the weight, too. Not to mention, it's more like... Yeah, it's more like a peck feeling, in a sense. But either way, he has a bag of Diet Pepsi cans. I'm not sure if he drank all those cans. If he did, good lord. Anyway, he takes one of the Pepsi cans. He sees the switch is right behind the monster. The slingshot is right next to him, so he grabs the slingshot. And since the monster is caught on the turbines, that takes the thing up to the cotton mill and shreds up the cotton. Well, he starts shooting the cans at the button, which is the main switch, which is right across the inside of the room, right behind the monster. Anyway, several tries. The last shot actually hits the button that starts it, which, keep this in mind, like I said, all the cans were empty. Alright, these are empty Pepsi cans. If they were curled up into, like, crunched balls, like most people usually do with Pepsi cans, then it would make much more sense that it had more weight to it. But no, it... Really? If they were full Pepsi cans, that would have added much more weight to it. I bet you anything Mythbusters would have actually debunked that myth, but you know what? I'm not even going to bother. Anyway, the machine gets turned on, the monster's tail gets caught in the turbine machine and gets dragged into it, and then, well, slicey dice, slicey dice, slicey dice, slicey dice, in a very grotesquely horrible manner, and it lets out a bellowing, horrific scream that it's kind of annoying, really. Yeah, really kind of annoying. Anyway, the only thing that's left behind of the creature is just part of its head, and, well, yeah, the monster dies. The drifter's safe, all the rats just eat and the remaining rats eat the monster's corpse. Yeah, that's real disgusting. And there's actually an alternate ending to this movie. When I first saw this movie, it was actually on TNT way back in the 90s, and there's the alternate ending which is the one I originally saw, was the drifter actually gets his time card and he punches out. Yeah, it's like, yep, I'm done with my shift. Cluck, cluck, I'm out. And the ending they have for the DVD and all the home release versions is, well, you see a sign outside the mill that says, now hiring under new management. Really? And that's the Graveyard Shift. Is it a good Stephen King movie? Is it a bad Stephen King movie? Is it in the middle of the road? I'm going to say it's somewhere on the middle of the road thing, a little bit towards the bad side, like somewhere in between, like in the middle of the road, bad side, like somewhere in between that section, you know. The movie was basically treated like a B film, so it comes off as a B film, so it feels like a B film. So, okay, maybe if it was treated like an A-listed horror film, it probably would have worked out better, but no. Anyway, I bet you're all asking yourselves, why the hell did I even talk about The Graveyard Shift when I had all these other better Stephen King movies? Well, one, this is the first Stephen King movie I am doing on my show, and fun fact, The Graveyard Shift was the first Stephen King film I saw when I was a kid. Yeah, this was my introduction to Stephen King. The Graveyard Shift. Now you know why I decided to review this movie, so shut up. Don't worry, eventually I will talk about these other films in time. And maybe there's some... Actually, I think only the... Okay, wait a second. The Dead Zone was a TV series later on. And Pet Sematary had a ridiculous sequel and a ridiculous reboot. But again, I didn't see the reboot, so I don't really care about that. Maybe the next film I'll do will probably be better, will probably be worse. Who knows? Maybe it'll be another Stephen King movie. Maybe it'll be a popular horror film or something. And here's another fun fact. Originally, the film I wanted to review was actually Queen of the Damned, but the problem is I can't find the damn DVD somewhere. I gotta look for it. Maybe in time I'll review that film. So, until the next time, take care.